Hello everyone and welcome back to another top level match of Beyond All Reason. Today, spawning as a blue Cortex commander right up on the front lines, we have our blue team leader, a commander that goes by the name of MV Pete. Going to be showing us what he's got on the right hand side of Pawn Retreat, a map we'll take a look at just like we usually do in just a second here. All the way across the map, spawning as the red team's lead commander, goes by the name of Suicidal Walnut, also a Cortex commander, and also going to be showing us what they've got as a bot. And I'm excited to see what happens. Pawn Retreat, it's one of those funky maps. It's got a whole bunch of asymmetries to it, which is always fun. It means that the lanes are most likely to collapse here on the left-hand side for the blue team and on the right-hand side for the red team. That's, of course, because of the metal distributions and, of course, how many players are playing each spot. There's usually a tech or air player back here. Looks like it's going to be air for Archimelon, and that's always lovely to see. Shurikens are going to be very powerful for the Hot Pink Commander. Boy, I'm ahead of myself with the words. I haven't seen any Beyond All Reason today, so I'm excited to get a chance to watch one of these games. I'm just about as addicted as everybody else is. I've heard stories from admins about players that have literally asked to be banned because they're addicted to this game. I believe it. I believe it. Left-hand side, Storm of Steel going to be going here. Do we have an air lab? Yes, we do indeed. All right, so Comrade Carl going to be going up similarly to Archmelon here, going into that air lab, going to be building some transports, no doubt, for the frontliners, and then eventually moving into fighter, shurikens, and maybe even a couple of bombers. I'm always happy to see bombers if we're a Cortex player, just because of how powerful those whirlwinds are. One or two whirlwinds across the map, and whoops, pardon me, not the pause button, meant to clear the drawings right here. One or two whirlwinds across the map and in the backline, bombing away at wind turbines, solar panels, metal extractors, and anything else that's explosive and highly sensitive. Obviously going to be very, very powerful for either team here, so I'll keep my eyes on to see if maybe we see some of those bombers moving across here. So far, the aggression has been non-existent. We do have a scouting plane moving across on the right-hand side right now for the Hot Pink Commander Archimelon. Going to be trying to take a peek at what exactly is going on the blue side of the map. Air Scout's very important. Now, one thing that I will say is sometimes we see two players spawn back here. Looks like not going to be the case this time, so that will be scouted right now as this Air Scout goes across the map and does indeed find everything good going on over on this side. This is an important scout. It does reveal that the blue commander is over here, and we have one player playing in this lane, which more than likely means that we're going to be seeing some of that good old-fashioned tech shenanigans. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we lay on the pressure a little bit thicker over on the right-hand side. This should also be interesting to see the blue leader going up against the red leader. Always fun when there's a nice little matchup like that. Sometimes the poor brown player ends up against the blue player and vice versa, right? You end up with the highest true skill versus the lowest true skill, and you can end up in a bit of a situation where it doesn't quite feel fair. Obviously, the matches are balanced, but sometimes that misalignment can be lethal. A couple of ticks, not quite in the back line, I would say, but catching this expanding constructor right here. One of them going to run away here. You do have to be careful about that. Citizen's arrest, as I've heard it been called before, but there we go. I think the ticks will eventually be able to... Oh, just barely saved. Beautiful save right there from the brown commander. Just barely managing to... Well, I spoke a little too soon there, didn't I? Incisor going to blast down a whole bunch of these ticks, but the remainder ticks will come to finish the mission, shutting down the constructor, denying 4 metal per second right here that would have been claimed, and also, furthermore, scouting the base of Nomkop, the brown commander here. Lovely, lovely stuff. Out on the front lines already, we do have blue grunts moving across, accompanied by a couple of green. Red commander going to try and deflect a whole lot of this, but Pixel Leader's commander is more or less in position. We do have a rogue grunt that snuck around this side. Nicely done by MVP. Keeping track of those little run-bys is really, really hard to do, but it's something that the pros, and especially the 1v1 pros, are really, really good at, is making sure that the grunts are constantly being leveraged into some sort of a trade everywhere on the map. Doesn't take many shurikens to shut this kind of thing down, though, so we do have indeed 3 shurikens, making this a slightly more efficient trade. That being said, there's enough grunts to just run on by over here. Some of these are going to become unparalyzed. Yeah, there we go. Shurikens at the very least going to help clean all that up, but certainly losing those metal extractors is a little bit uncomfortable for everybody right there. Everybody on the red team, that is. Suicidal Walnut pushing pretty far forward here, but this LOT does quite a bit of damage, leaving that commander at 46% HP and on the retreat. It's going to be 2 versus 1 here until the pink commander gets into the fight. We do have pawns coming out of the lab right now, but it's going to be a bit before those units really get to the front line. Yeah, you can see this lab is so far back right here. They do have to make the walk of shame all the way down. We're going to go for a lightning turret in their place, in the place of units on the front line here. I don't completely hate that. The lightning turret is very powerful. It's good against medium tanks, which is a obvious benefit to the... Well, any team that does have one of those up and available is distracted slightly here by an air scout going across as well. Comrade Carl sending one of these finches to detect where these bases are. Going to find out exactly where everybody's located. We do already have some great scouting information from those ticks, but at the very least, we're going to confirm who is up on this top ridge if not deductively, then at the very least empirically by sending this scout up there to see that it's Archamelon. Itchy britches, 19% HP. Not looking too hot. Ooh, that Rocketeer survives too. Overcommitting right here. Oh. Careful now. Okay, we're gonna sacrifice both commanders. Yeah, that was a misread right there by the Seafoam Green commander. Gyo sexy, I don't know. Most certainly not how that's supposed to be pronounced, but anyway, the Seafoam Green commander there, misjudging what we were going for, or what the orange commander was going for right there, and ending up accidentally trading out the commander when otherwise it really didn't need to be. It could have just been a free pick right there. Incisors take this as their opportunity to move forward. Now we are going to pull forces back to deal with this. I think right now would be a great time to aggress though. Yeah, we do have grunts moving forward on the left-hand side, triggered by all the forces shifting towards the middle of the map. We do need to reclaim as much of this as possible. I say we eat as much of that metal as we comfortably can and then degun the Rex here. Tortoise going to try and extract so much of this resource here. Oh, degun. Oh, we're not going to degun. Oh, no. That is a huge misplay right there. Not degunning those corpses means that all that metal is going to go back to the red team right here. Now there's 3.7 thousand metal, a full-fledged T2 transition, bot lab and power included. Meanwhile, left-hand side has suffered greatly at the hands of these pawns that run right by and did a tremendous amount of damage over here to Nomenkop. Going to be knocked down for quite a while, actually. The build power is gone. The energy production is gone. The commander needs to get his rear in gear. Need to start rebuilding those mexes, setting up LLTs, building wind turbines, doing anything that they can in order to get that whole economy and production center back up and running right now. Incisors lay in ruin. And Oscar Lowe is going to be having a field day. Look at how much metal that beautiful Maroon Commander is going to be eating up right now. We should basically see, yeah, huge metal investment. So we're going to go advanced solar panels. There we go. We're going to go T2 lab as well. I think that's a great play. Use that energy, or use that metal, pardon me, to fund all the really expensive stuff that otherwise would take quite a long time. Suicidal Walnut pushed pretty far back right here. Hans Joachim doing a great job of repairing a whole lot of these aggravators. Suicidal Walnut also doing a great job at that, though. We do have the Resbots trying to keep... What is he doing? Trying to keep all this together right there. That one doing a little dance. Beautiful. Lovely stuff. Meanwhile, big old bombing run. Catching the tail ends of this first wave of bombing, but they're not quite done yet. There are fighters here to take out a whole bunch of the remainders of these, but still coming in and deploying their payloads on top of tons of those wind turbines, shutting down more and more of the economies right here for the yellow commander. Just like that, more of those wind turbines go down, and that is a beautiful bombing run. Wonderfully done right now by Comrade Carl. Looks like we are going to send in some... Oh, okay, no, we're not. We had some follow-up bombers, but we're not going to send those in. No reliable scouting information as to where those bombers should go, so I think probably a good idea to just mass them up and then eventually send them across. We do have a little bit of a push right here. A lot of those aggravators seem to have fallen right here for Hans Joachim. Not going to be the end of the world. As soon as we start reclaiming and as soon as production speeds up right here, we should have a T2 transition underway. Yeah, kind of. We're very low on energy right now. If the energy were higher, I think the green commander right here would be pumping out those T2 and sending them to the teammates a lot quicker, but unfortunately is not the case. There's the medium tank ball. It's been built up over time right here by Storm of Steel, and now it's going to start marching towards the base of Come Get Some. Come Get Some indeed, as those stouts turn away. Okay, I think we probably could have committed right there and at least taken down the base over here. Loads of solar panels, by the way. Very metal-dense energy infrastructure if you're going to be going into vehicles here. Always tricky kiting against a commander with medium tanks, but there we go. I think we did it successfully. 5%. Oh, he's so low. Very low commander right there. My goodness, cannot believe Come Get Some actually evaded those medium tanks' fire. And a lot of them have been dealt with here. You know what? This is actually a fairly nice deflection. Ooh, a nice deacon right there as well. Yeah, beautifully done. Nice little cleanup right there from the tank commander. That could have been way worse if the commander had gone up, if all these units had been lost, if those tanks had pushed forward right here and killed the base. That could have been a nightmare to deal with. But all said and done, I think this is going to be perfectly fine for Come Get Some as long as we see that production kick into gear, and it looks like indeed we do. Big wind-based economy right here for the yellow commander. Risky, of course, because once that wind speed dies down, you find yourself in a severe lack of energy. But if you can manage to maintain those wind turbines and maintain enough energy storages, get it all working together, then you can certainly find yourself in a pretty good situation. Fox 79, are we going for a T2 transition? We are not. Interesting. What are we working on right here? Nothing. We have 800 metal in the bank right now, just waiting for an excuse to spend it. Purple Commander going for an economy on the back of this. Went for a forward vehicle bay. Going to be forced to go clean up all this. Oh no. Just a couple of pawns showing us exactly how valuable it is to have radar and detection everywhere, just to make sure that you can clean up any of these messes, catch them before they become a real problem. Just 3 pawns, shutting down 2 solar panels, 2 metal extractors, about to be a third, and headed directly towards this backline, which has no static defense whatsoever. This pawn has an opportunity of a lifetime. There we go. We start up an LLT right here. Not going to be enough to stop this pawn, I am afraid. Starts blasting apart those wind turbines. Meanwhile, a massive engagement over here. We have Resbots picking up the aggravators here. Would like to see these handed over. I feel like there's no reason to micro them if they're on this left-hand side. Meanwhile, this right-hand side has been porked to high heaven, so I think it's probably a good idea for the blue commander not to engage over here. Just let all this static defense sit away and waste and not get any value here. Oh, no, we're going to start losing the aggravators. Yikes. Commander goes down over here on the left-hand side. That's going to be the green command. Wait, green commander. Oh, yeah, okay. There's Hans Joachim's commander. I guess he dove forward here trying to take down some of that defense. Going to eventually put quite a lot of hurt on Special Walnut as well. Sorry, Suicidal Walnut as well. And, yeah, I mean, is it a worthwhile trade? Well, if we can take down the commander, it certainly will be. Oh, beautiful play right there. All right, aggravators do manage to take down the commander. Resbots are in position here to eat all this up as well. We need to go, go, go. Bombers deploying their payload onto the red production facility here as well. We're building up grunts to try and deflect as much of this as possible, but the aggravators, if they push right now, could win the game. Go, go, go. Pull the trigger. It's time to push forward. There they go. Marching forward right now. We need to get these red spots to start reclaiming this commander wreck as well. That could pay for a full-fledged T2 transition, maybe even a fusion reactor. Start up that T2 economy. Get yourself well into that T2 era. How many times can I say T2 in a single spewage? Somebody can put a counter down below in the comment section, but there we go. Oscar Low moving forward right here with these Rocketeers. Far have they gone outside of the pacing of this match? It's time for T2 is what I'm trying to say. So eating those up on the front line, certainly a recommendation of mine. One of the things that I discovered and has completely changed my game is recycling those T1 units. Very, very efficient thing, and not really too difficult because you should already be including a couple of those Resbots. Pretty easy to reallocate those Resbots towards just going ahead and eating up some of these inefficient units. Rocketeers winning the game over here on the right-hand side. We still have tons of static defense. Yeah, I mean, the Gauntlet with 7 kills. Does it justify the 1,250 metal cost? I don't think so. Storm of Steel in a lot of trouble here as well. Yeah, maces, pawns, even Rocketeers kiting against this commander. The entire production center over here has gone, well, to rubble. Purple commander forced to flee. Shuriken's trying to make this all an even fight, and there we go. I mean, the pawns do jump on top of some of these medium tanks. If we spread the if we spread the pawns out, I guess if we spread the medium tanks out as well, you do take advantage of that surround bonus, and it makes this quite a bit better. I believe these are just fight commanded. Yeah, it looks like they were just fight commanded. Shuriken actually doing a great job of helping clean a lot of that up. A lot of that wreckage remains intact right here, but we're going to need to start up some production in the backline here. Wouldn't mind a bot transition just so that we can get some Resbots out there to eat up a whole bunch of this. But this is ginormous. We have so many units moving forward right here for the blue commander and VP, and I don't see a reason for them to stop. We're starting up a Pitbull right here. Pitbull, same cost as the Gunslinger, just about. Wouldn't mind seeing maybe one of them sacrificed to build the other here, the Pitbull. There we go. I mean, Gunslinger's pretty good too. Good enough to stop this entire army? I'm not so sure. The answer might be yes. Oh, definitely not good enough to stop them before they tear apart all of the economy in the back, though. Eventually, the Gunslinger does go down. The Aggravators reigning supreme right here on the right-hand side. Eventually going to jump on top of this crucial T2 economy right here. The Maroon Commander losing their entire base right now. Oscar Low just about losing everything. Last Constructor is under fire right now. Rocketeers are also collapsing on top of this base. Hound's going to try and clean a lot of this up, but it's not an ideal unit for dealing with some of these faster ones. Certainly going to be a little bit better against the Aggravators, but the Grunts are causing a whole bunch of problems. Pawn's here to help, but already 2 commanders down. The red commander has already left the game. This is a wonderful, wonderful push right here from the blue commander, using those T1 bots to their very most effectiveness. It's rare that T1 bots manage to bring down a T2 economy, but there we go. Just goes to show how devastating those aggravators can be if you keep them alive, if you keep them snowballing, and if eventually you use them at just the right time. That transition from T1 to T2 is very expensive, and it means that there's not a lot of unit production. That's exactly what we just saw caught right here. Now, looking for a little bit of a counterattack, Oscar Low going to be investing heavily into Gunslingers. There's been a debate recently as to how effective the Gunslinger is. I guess we'll get a good preview right here as to maybe some of the arguments for the Gunslingers as they start marching forward. Certainly going to make short work of any of these Grunts moving forward. However, not going to be ideal against the Shuriken. Well, you know what? It's funny. They are not great against the Shuriken, but they can technically hit them. And sometimes technically being able to hit something is good enough and beyond all reason, but I don't think it's going to be the case here. Yeah, well and stunned for a good long while. There we go. They come out of their stupor and eventually start firing away again. But it did allow a lot of those grunts to get a good fight in against them. But that is the secret superpower of the gunslinger. They're already healing back up to full health. They'll be self-repaired in just a short while right here. And as soon as they are, they're back to business, blowing apart whatever they can. We need some anti-air defense, please. Well, you know what? I guess the laser on the commander works as well. I was going to say a little light anti-air would work pretty good here, but I suppose, yeah, just using your lasers and your gunslingers to your best of your abilities. Sheldon eventually going to start firing away at those. That hefty positional advantage over here has been capitalized on by the blue commander by going heavily into T2. You can see we're starting up a fusion reactor. We've already got T2 metal extractors coming up right now. It's a full-fledged T2 transition. Fiends marching forward. You know what? The gunslinger's continuing to impress me here. The commander actually more at risk right now than anything else. Essentially, you need a single concentrated high burst of damage to bring down a gunslinger. A D-gun certainly works. And MVP stepping a little too far, accidentally uncloaks just a second too early, but does D-gun down 3 of those gunslingers right there, bringing them crumbling to their knees. And just like that, we do have ourselves the last of the gunslingers, brought low by the might of the Sheldon, the Arbiter, and of course the commander. Nice deflection right there. I think that was a little bit of a Hail Mary from the Maroon commander because, yeah, the base is in shambles right now. Trying to get as much of this resurrected as possible. Fusion reactor died out though, and that was a tremendous part of this, as well as the wind turbines. I will say it's fortunate that this geothermal stayed alive as well here. Eventually, I think we're going to find ourselves able to rebuild, but we need build power up and running immediately. Oftentimes, one of the most generous things you can do as an air player is just transport your build power to an ally and let them use it. Handing over the construction turrets and just letting them use them. Agitator up here on the hillside, firing away from Gnome Cop. Going to start blasting away at this facility for Storm of Steel. Obviously a little bit uncomfortable, but not the end of the world. And this is exactly the fight you want to avoid. This is why we eat up the T1 when we're transitioning to T2. It's so that these fiends don't accidentally jump on top of all your precious T1 units and burn them to smithereens before you even have a chance to get any of their real value out. Shuriken only compounding the issue, allowing these hounds to fire away, providing both vision and paralysis here, making the hounds lethally effective. So far, Comrade Carl has been completely on top of it with the air support here. Love to see those Cortex commanders remembering to continue to support their team, even into the late game. It does get awfully hectic. You're trying to manage bombers and fighters and all sorts of different stuff. Keeping those Shuriken well controlled is definitely one of the trickier things to try and remember to keep managed. Both players still on T1 by the, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. Archimillan on T1. The Comrade Carl here getting ready for T2. Already has the fusion reactor up and running, just waiting to get this economy up and started before transitioning into T2 fighter planes, which I'm certain will happen any minute now. We do have a fusion reactor started up one more time for the Maroon Commander. Actually kind of a greedy fusion reactor here. I suppose if we reclaim the lab and we do some metal shenanigans here, we could probably get this all up and running. We do need these metal extractors handed back over, though. That would be ideal. Itchy Britches handing over those mexes so that they're back in the rightful hands of the person who owns that base. Typically best practice anyways. Genesis having a hard time with this stream of units coming out of this lab right here from the Orange Commander on the left-hand side, but we do see a full-fledged T2 transition about to clash with basically T1 spam. Now, missile trucks are great, don't get me wrong, but they're not going to hold up well against those T2 hounds. Metal for metal, the hounds are just going to be way more efficient. Here's the Arbiters, by the way, blasting apart whatever they can find over here. There's a nice spy bot as well. Why don't we take a view at MVP's perspective? In fact, why don't we get a really cool view here? Yeah. Why don't we do something like this? There we go. Beautiful. And we can hit oh no, sorry, not player camera. Player view. There we are. And we can see into the fog of war over there. Get a nice cinematic display of exactly what we see over there. So you can see these firing away with the aid of that spy bot, revealing some of these units and allowing MVP to fire away their missiles directly towards these structures. We do know the ghost of the radar jammer is here as well, so it's well worth targeting that down, if ever possible. But oftentimes it's easy to miss that sort of a thing. Transition back to our overhead view for a second there. Sometimes that makes people nauseous, but I know a lot of people love it, so I do like to showcase that every once in a while. Just in time, by the way, to spectate these Marauders running directly into the right-hand side. This is the side that was already weakened by those incredible run-bys from the Rocketeers. feels weird to say that, run by the aggravator, one of the slowest units in the game, but I suppose that's what it was. Hidden gem of the Marauder is, of course, their anti-air missile. Allows them to shoot down these air walls if they get underneath them. Sometimes even valuable just to park a couple of Marauder underneath an air wall just to slowly thin it out. Nice D-gun right there. Pixel Eater in position to D-gun down a bunch of those Marauder. Nice save right there from the Pink Commander, saving that base from total annihilation. I have to invoke that so carefully when I say that name. And Archimela now going to be next in line to try and defend over here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Two of these are going to split off in this direction. Is Archimela paying attention? Ooh, not quite. Yeah, Marauder's going to spy that commander that started moving around a little too early, and that means they're not going to head in that direction where that commander is. Instead, going to be more than happy to head towards the base of the Pink Commander that was unguarded by any sort of commander presence. No D-gun available. Not going to take down the lab. Commander goes down to the Marauder kiting as well, and this is a nightmare. Marauder in the back line. Going to be difficult to beat. There's those T2, and you can see no T1 army in sight. And I'll tell you exactly why. It's because it's all been eaten up after being turned to scrap by those T2, just because of how efficient T2 is against T1. Marauder not hardly damaged at all, even in this base back here. Bit of another commander explosion over on this side as well as the Sheldon bring down that commander, and the Marauder head in towards the back line. We never ate the T2 lab. That is that's surprising to me. We also never got these metal extractors up and running. A little bit of an APM stall right there from the red team, I have to imagine. Not that it's gonna matter here, as these well, maybe it would have mattered if we had gotten all this production back up and running. Maybe this red commander, maroon commander could have gotten back into the game. But as far as I'm concerned here, still dead in the water. Yeah, no production available. We're depositing metal as quickly as we can, but there's just no way that we're gonna be able to finish this off with the Marauder. Already blasting apart the lab over here. The T2 constructors falling, the Hounds, the Sheldon, the Manticores even included here. I guess the anti-shuriken force, the Manticores, all ready to rip and tear until it is done, and the red team has yielded to the might of the blue. At this point, the red team huddled in their corner decides to yield, and the blue team crushes them under their pressure. Beautifully, beautifully played by the blue team. The aggression all around was fantabulous. That was the word I was reaching for. Fantabulous, sure, why not? The aggression was fantabulous, and it managed to do eventually enough damage to break through. MVP'd winning the Golden Cow, no doubt for that wonderful push forward into the map, killing both the red and maroon commander, and eventually leading to an all-out victory. Thanks a ton for watching. Feel free to leave a like down below if you enjoyed. Go ahead and check out some of the other games as well. I've been casting games for over a year now, so we've definitely got quite a lot of videos. I guess that would mean over 365 more or less videos. So there's a lot of backlog in case you're new to the Brightworks and you'd like to go check those out. But other than that, I do hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason.